Okay, hello first graders. Today we're in a brand new topic where we're looking at topic 6. We're at lesson 6-1 and they're going to be asking us to organize data into 3 categories. And data is just information that you can collect. So we're going to be looking at collecting data and then how to represent it and how to organize it. We're going to find that on page 353. So if you can please take out your Envision book. I'm going to share my workspace with you. Here we are, 6-1, page 353. And you can see Marta here, and she has some crayons down below. Just adjust this a little bit so we can see better. There we go. And she has a story here that she's going to share with us, so I'm going to read and you can follow in your book. It says, Judy wants to show a friend how many crayons she has of each color. How can she show this? Show one way. Okay, so my important information is that Judy wants to show a friend how many crayons, so how many crayons she has of each color. Okay, and the question is, how can she show this? And they want us to show one way. Okay, so when I look down at the crayons, I know that I'm going to be dealing with color. So I see 3 different colors right away. I see green, blue, and yellow. Okay, so up here, I'm going to go ahead and use the top of my workspace to make a G, and that G will represent green. In the middle, I'm going to put a B, and that B will represent blue. And then over here on the other side, I'm going to put a Y, and that will represent yellow. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is separate each of those sections with a line. So now I have 1, 2, 3 columns. Okay. Okay, now I know my first column is going to represent the green crayons, so I have to go back to my set of crayons and count how many green I have. Okay, you can do that with me. We can look together. I see 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 crayons. Okay, so now that I come back here to my green section, I'm going to represent those crayons with tally marks. And I know I had 4 green crayons, so I'm going to represent that with 1, 2, 3, 4 tally marks. Okay, now I'm going to go over to my next section, which is B for blue. I come down and I'm seeing 1 blue, and that's it, just 1 blue crayon. Okay, so when I come back to this section, I will represent that with 1 tally mark. And finally, I have my last column, which is Y for yellow. So I come down, I'm seeing 1 and 2, and that's it. So I have 2 yellow crayons. Okay, so notice what I did. I was able to take this sort of bunch of crayons, take that information and organize it in a graph using tally marks. Okay, so now I can easily see which color has the most, right? I can easily see which color has the least, okay? Okay. I can also see, for example, how many more green there are than yellow, right? If there's 4 green and 2 yellow, then there's 2 more green than there are yellow. And I can also easily kind of calculate how many crayons I have all together. I see 4 plus 1 plus 2, right? That would give us 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 2 more would be 7. So there's lots of different ways that I could then go and start analyzing the data that I collected. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the top boxes on the next page. Here we have Marta. It says, these are tally marks. There are 3 tally marks, and they have 1, 2, 3. Each tally mark stands for 1 piece of information. Okay, so that's good to know. Each tally mark stands for a piece of information. The second box says count the tally marks by fives. So we know, and we've practiced, if you think back to our yellow spirals and how we were representing numbers in the fall, we used tally marks as one way to represent, and we know that we group them in groups of 5 or bundles of 5. So if I see a group of tally marks that looks like this, then we can count by fives. Please do that with me. 5, 10, 15, 20. Marta says there are 20. Each group stands for 5 pieces of information. Okay. The next section, mathematics, make tally marks to show how many letters are black. So notice they wrote the word mathematics in different colors, and they want to know how many of those letters are black. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So notice how they made their tally marks. They did one group of 5. That's 5 plus one more is 6. There are 6 black letters. Okay. And then finally, the last box is you can put the data in a tally chart. And you can see their tally chart for the different colors looks very much like our tally chart when we were representing the colors of crayons, right? They're doing the colors of the letters in the word mathematics. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward to the guided practice. The directions say in the chart, make tally marks to show how many socks there are for each color. Okay, so here are the socks that I have to organize. And I'm starting with green. So I come back here to the green and I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Okay. Well, I know that I'm going to be grouping in groups of 5. So I'm going to start there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if I add one more, I have 6. So now my green socks are represented. Let's take a look at the orange. That's the next category. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I know for that I can just do one bundle. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and finally I'm being asked to represent blue. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so my first bundle is going to be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward to the independent practice. The directions say, use the tally chart from guided practice to answer each question. Okay, so here's my guided practice tally chart. I'm going to be using this chart to answer the questions here on my independent work. Okay, so we're going to look at the first one together. Right here, number 2. It asks, which color sock has the most tally marks? Okay, so if I come back to my chart here, I want you to notice this one has 6, this one has 5, this one has 7. Right, so the blue has the most tally marks. So we're going to come back. And right on this line, I'm going to write blue, because that has the most. Okay. And then you will also use that same chart to answer questions 3 and 4. Question 3 asks, how many blue socks are there? So you would write the number here. And question 4 asks, how many socks are there in all? So they want to know all together. I'll take all of this information. How many socks do I have in all? Okay, so you're going to use an addition equation to answer that. You can show your work here. All right, and then the next set of direction asks us to use the tally chart below, so it's this one here, to answer each question. So this tally chart is about Saul's closet, and in his closet he has shirts, he has shorts, and he has shoes. So if I'm looking at the tallies, I see he has a bundle of 5 plus 2 more. So that's 5, 6, 7. He has 7 shirts. He has 4 tally marks for shorts. So he has 4 shorts. And then for shoes, he has 2 shoes. And I'm using this information to answer numbers 5 and 6. So if I look at 5, it asks, how many shorts does Saul have? So you go back to the chart and you'll answer. And then number 6 asks, which item in his closet does Saul have the most of? So again, you go back to the chart to find that information. Okay. And then finally, let's look at number 7 together, please. Math and science. Okay, I'll read and you can follow. Rita recorded data about different types of shoes. She made a tally mark each month for each shoe until that type of shoe wore out. Which type of shoe lasted the longest? How many months before it wore out? Okay, so this chart, it's important to know what they recorded. It says Rita recorded data about different types of shoes. So I see she has sneakers, sandals, and loafers. Those are her 3 types. She made a tally mark each month for each shoe until that type of shoe wore out. Okay, so let's say she started in January. So for January, she had sneakers, she had sandals, she had loafers, and they were doing just fine. Then in February, she had sneakers, they were still doing well, her sandals were doing okay, and her loafers were doing okay. So she gave them each a second tally mark. Okay, so she did January, February, and she got to March. Her sneakers were still good. Oh, what happened to her sandals? Look. Yeah, they wore out, right? They wore out after 2 months. So she stopped tally marks for her sandals. And then her loafers were still doing well. So she gave them another tally mark. Okay, then she went to the next month. April would be next. Her sneakers were still okay. So she gave her sneakers another tally mark. Again, sandals wore out after 2 months. And her loafers were doing well. So she gave her loafers another tally mark. Okay, then she got to the 5th month. What happened to her sneakers, guys? There's no 5th tally mark, right? So those sneakers wore out. That's what that tells us. And then her loafers, you'll notice they did get a 5th tally mark. So her loafers were still okay, even after 5 months. Her sneakers only lasted, that's right, 4 months. And her sandals only lasted 2 months, right? Okay, so the question is, which type of shoe lasted the longest? So looking at the data here, I see it's her loafers that lasted the longest, right? And then the follow-up question is how many months before it wore out? So look here, there's a group of 5, so that tells me it was 5 months before they wore out. So for my answer, we're going to put loafers. Okay, loafers. And that's the shoe that lasted the longest. And then I'm just going to put a comma and then put 5 months because they lasted 5 months according to those tally marks before they wore out. Okay. All right, boys and girls. So that's our first lesson for looking at data, categorizing it, and using it to answer questions. So as you work through, if you have any questions, we can talk about it in our Google Meets. I think you guys will be pretty successful with this lesson, but we'll just touch base about it at our next meet, okay? All right, guys, take care. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.